to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know, my guests and I are excited to have you with us this week. So here's the deal. Changing the sales game, kind of important. We want to make more money, but we have to serve and show up bigger and better for our clients. So how do we do that? I have a free gift for you. In the show notes, you'll find my communication style assessment. You'll get 2 reports after taking the online assessment. First report will spotlight your natural superpowers, which your natural communication superpowers, I should say, which means how your message is landing for the other person you're communicating with. Here's the more important report. You'll get a secondary report, which spotlights your lowest score, typically a blind spot. So how is your message landing for those that communicate 180 degrees different from you? Kind of important. So again, that link is in the show notes. My gift to you. I truly hope it helps you change your sales game so much more efficiently. Now, to set the tone for the show's topic today, my motivational quote is by Andrea Mignolo. And Andrea says, I want to do business with a company that treats emailing me as a privilege, not as a transaction. Now, listen, when COVID hit, right, many business activities kind of went full on stop. The one thing, though, that continued were different email campaigns. Now that things have, I'm going to say, kind of gotten back to normal or back on track. Are email campaigns still relevant, or have they become obsolete? Now, this is an essential question. I don't care what type of business or industry you're in. We need to think about it because our email list could potentially be our long-term lifeline for just continued business and continued success. So how do we create value-added emails so people not only open them, right? That's great, click rates, but we want to make sure they investigate and take action. So who is my amazing guest that we're going to talk about this very cool topic today? His name is Eric Boggs. Now, Eric is the founder and CEO of RevBoss, a lead generation company focused on outbound prospecting. He spent the last 20 years of his career building SaaS companies and advising successful CEOs, Device Magic, Kevel, UserVoice, Ignite Social, and many more, which, because that's not my zone of genius, he's going to explain that to me. So please help me welcome Eric to the show. So Eric, thanks for being on.
Hi, Connie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Just great background. When I meet tech people like you, I'm like, oh, I need to learn. What do I need to learn? So I'm always excited about these conversations because remember, I've become almost the listener because I'm not an expert on this topic. And that's why I love having folks like you on the show. So truly, truly, thanks for being on.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm happy to chat.
Yeah. So first question, all right, how can sellers craft these cold emails that are just a little more engaging and maybe story driven? So we're moving away from that more formula-based approach that you see, so many marketing companies use.
You said it in your question, story driven. That's the way we operate at RevBoss. We're a lead generation software and service company that's worked with hundreds of customers, working almost exclusively with email. And we've gone through lots and lots of iterations in our strategy and our approach and the way we execute on behalf of our clients. But the one thing that has been the same since the beginning is the idea that people buy from people and people buy stories. And the story that you tell to the recipient is really the only thing that matters. And it's the biggest lever that you have as a marketer and as an emailer. There's a lot of ways you can go about it. And I guess I should say, there's a lot underneath that, right? You got to have the technical implementation and all the whatever. Let's assume you got all those boxes checked. It's the story. And I love the quote that you said at the beginning of the show, email is a privilege. Clearly, that resonates with the world that I live in this topic. And, being respectful in the way that you contact people and trying to appreciate their context and their perspective, not just in the tone of your copy, but also in the actual content that you send them. And so, yeah, we've all gotten bad emails. We've all gotten good emails. The good ones are timely, they're resonant, and you feel like the person that sent it knows who you are.
Yeah, and it's personal. Here's the thing, Eric. I've been in sales for 40 years. And when COVID hit, right, I had done everything live because I'm old, but right, 40 years doing this stuff. And COVID hit. And I remember saying to my husband, I don't know anything about business. I wasn't exposed to this whole digital realm and email lists and all of these things. So quick education, I'll tell you that, right? Because I had to start making income. We need my income in the household. And as I was learning about the technology, it was so funny because I hired coaches, of course, right? Because I had blind spots, right? You have to be smart. So, penny wise, dollar foolish, that old saying is really true when you're in business. And I remember as I was learning, Eric, it was so funny because I kept saying to my coach, the one who was teaching me all the time, I'm like, oh, well, that's a sales strategy. And he was like, oh, I guess. So, all of this email sales for me, it's got to be personal. It's got to be what's in it for the client, where they are right here, right now, not where we want them to be a year from now, right? I have to connect with them on this very personal, intimate. I use the word intimate, not in a weird way, but I have to connect with them. They have to want to do business with me in addition to whatever I'm selling, right? My products and services resonate with them exactly. It's been that for 40 years. So nothing's changed, just that now we have this technology. And I feel like people who don't have that acumen of 40 years or 20 years, like you have 20 years of experience, when you don't have that underlying, we're using Chat GBT and these other AIs, which have their place. I'm not dissing them, but they're using that to create marketing campaigns because somebody told them, tell a story. And I'll tell you, I get these emails with this and I think, I don't care. Why are you telling me this? It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. So sometimes I feel the emails become very egotistical versus sharing. So what you just said makes sense to me. How you're running your business, right? It makes sense.
There a really easy framework that your listeners can kind of take away from this conversation is that the prospecting email that you send has to answer one question. I'm emailing you because, and it can't be I'm emailing you because I want your business, or I'm emailing you because I can increase your whatever by 30% or decrease your other thing by 7%. It's got to be from the perspective of the recipient. And at RevBoss, we use this word called connectors. The idea that the email that you send answers that question. I'm emailing you because using connectors. And connectors are things that we know to be true about you as the recipient that we can reflect in the copy that we send. I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I'm a Tar Heel. I'm a crazy basketball fan like we all are. A really easy connector would be, hi, Connie. I went to UNC. You went to UNC. Isn't it great that we connected? That is not a great one, but it's a really easy example. You went to Monmouth, right?
Rutgers and then Monmouth for graduate. Yep.
So a better connector would be, hi, Connie. You went to Monmouth. The head coach is King Rice, who played at Carolina, who I used to pretend to be on the driveway when I was a kid. That's a connector that's much deeper for you, and it shows that I did a lot more thinking and research than what I wrote. And so connectors are what build the story, right? And that's a hook that shows that I know who you are. It shows that I'm not just like an AI drone that's just cycling through people and barfing out content, which I will say, I agree, there is a place for that, and I can blow your mind with some of the stuff that we're working on in that category. But connectors can also be things like, Connie, you run a 20-person marketing agency. I didn't see a marketing job title on LinkedIn, so I'm guessing that you run marketing yourself. That's probably true. That's an assumption. That's something that we know to be true about you. And so I made an assumption that shows that I know who you are, right? And so now I'm starting to weave together this story of, we have some personal connectivity. I know something about your context, and here may be something about my business or me personally that gives me a lot of credibility that makes me interesting to you, the recipient. And, compare that to what you normally get, which is just like, a jackhammer of an email every 3 days from the same person saying the same thing that's all about feeds and speeds and trying to sell you features and products. versus just trying to like show that I'm credible and interesting and that can maybe be helpful.
Yeah. What was that? Stephen Covey, I think it's the fifth habit, right? Of the 7 habits of highly successful people, where he says, try to understand before being understood. And that's what basically, that's what you just said. Instead of me vomiting what I could do for you, I don't even know you, right? I don't even know where your business cycle is. Could I help you? Right? Do you need help with sales? In my case, do I need help with email marketing? You don't really know. And I can tell you, Eric, and have you seen this overall? The amount of, I'm going to say vomit. Well, I know people, sorry about that. I hope we're not eating lunch, but the amount of just like vomit that's coming through in these emails. And I read them and I think, is anybody buying from these people? It is so generic, vanilla. There's no thought in it. They copied it, right? Swipe copy. We even call it swipe copy because they copied it from someone else. It's so inauthentic that I find it offensive. And again, I do emails. I have email lists. I mean, I do all of these things. I really try to target my group in a personal way and so that they can get intimate with me. Again, not in that weird way. Are you seeing that as a typical practice out there in your industry with what you're doing?
Yes. I mean, it always has been. It's cheap to send email.
Yeah.
In general, like compared to other things, like the marginal cost of sending an additional email is very low. And so that leads to this like scorched earth volume-based approach that we are fervently opposed to. And it's hard and it creates a lot of noise in the market, and we get lumped in with these types of companies. And invariably, like you can look at their website and it's like a guy. Right? It's like a guy that's like built a website that maybe has a business, maybe not. And that's fine. I'm not
dissonant. No, you got to start somewhere. I'm with you.
That's how I started RevBoss. I was a guy.
Absolutely.
But no, in you alluded to what's causing that now. It's AI. And I think it might get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to spin up a piece of software that can just crank out email and SMS and everything else. And the marginal cost of a personalized email, and I'm using air quotes, to Connie versus a personalized email to Eric, it's the cost of the ChatGPT credits, which is like a fraction of a cent. And so it's not free, but it's close to it. And what you end up getting is garbage.
Yeah.
And that's the bad that AI has created for and not just email, but marketing in general.
Agree.
It's it's just so easy to create garbage that people are just creating garbage because people are lazy and people take the easy way when they're given that option.
Because I understand we're busy. So you're like, oh, I got to do that blog post. Let me chat GBT it. So I was talking to a colleague, and I'd like you to weigh in on this too. I talked to a colleague and we were saying, look, I think this AI chat GBT, anybody who's not remaining relevant, especially my age group, beware, because you're going to fall behind way too quickly. So I do think it has its place, but here's the difference. If I'm starting out, like you alluded to, they just left a corporate job, right? That's what I did. I left a corporate job, right? Started my business. They have this very minimal website because they're kind of figuring things out, but they have something for people to go to. And they see Chat GBT. They want to get a bunch of content created. Beautiful, right? You're down here because you're kind of starting out. Chat GBT could get you there faster and raise you up, right? Versus I have 40 years of experience. So I'm up here. I start using Chat GBT, which is the generic stuff already out in the internet. It has just devalued the 40 years I bring to the table. Yeah. So can Chat GBT get me started? And then I put my secret sauce in there? Sure, it could be an outline, but people are depending on it because marketers are saying we have to get at least 5 emails out with content with good. So people are depending on the AI. And I agree. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I think there's like a user curve that people are going to have to figure out. And the best model I've heard for right now, the state of AI, ChatGPT kind of being the primary one that people are using.
Everybody knows that one.
It's like an intern. ChatGPT is your intern. Give me 10 ideas for this, write a draft for that.
I like that.
Compare these things. Write a, it's amazing at generating code, right? Like if it's like a Python script or any, like GitHub's Copilot programming software can debug code. Like it's a code debugger, it's a copy generator, it's a whole like it can do a whole lot of like low level
Yeah,
things. And I think that you've nailed it in that it becomes really effective as just like this little, it's a gopher, it's an intern. That's how I use it.
I love that.
The next layer up is the way we're starting to use it at RevBoss, which is like embedded in our product and process as like an administrative assistant or a virtual assistant.
Mm,
And that is reply to this email, book this meeting, um, look at this website and tell me, does it have this or does it not have that? And so there's like a next level up where it's less of just like throw a project at it
yeah,
and let it come back with something that's amorphous and that you have to spend more time on. The next tier up is this idea of using it as like a task executor program where you don't have
yeah,
to check it because it's like it's almost always right.
yeah.
We've embedded it in our software with this feature we built called Inbox. And we got hundreds of clients that send lots of email, and all that email comes back. And until very recently, processing it manually and clicking buttons and whatever, and it's a mess. Well, now every email comes into an AI model that tags it. This is a lead, this is a meeting request, this is a colleague referral, request for more information, follow up later, not interested, unsubscribe,
It's
da da da.
great.
And it also generates a reply. So a reply from you that says, hey, Eric, this is interesting. I'm going to be out. Can we follow up in 2 weeks? Well, for you, the sales rep, man, you're like, okay, sounds good, Connie. I'll follow up in 2 weeks. Make a reminder, email Connie in 2 weeks. 2 weeks come. Did I get the reminder? Did I remember it? Who was Connie again? Now I got to type an email to Connie. Well, the way that's going to work now is, hey, Eric, email me in 2 weeks. Instantly, email gets generated. Sounds great, Connie. I'll contact you in 2 weeks. Email gets generated, queued up for 2 weeks, threaded to the original thing. Hey, Connie, it's Eric. You told me to follow up in 2 weeks. Here I am. And here's the context. Let's chat. And, that doesn't require anything from a salesperson just to
Yeah.
use the right systems. And that's kind of where we are approaching. And then the third sort of tier, and I mean, there's probably 100 tiers, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how apocalyptic your views of AI are.
Yeah.
But beyond that is
Matrix.
this idea of an AI agent that's less transactional, but more can kind of complete threaded, complicated tasks of, okay, go to this website, and if it's this, do that, and then do this thing after that. And if it's that, do this and whatever. And so it can start to thread together um, a sequence of logic. And it's really wild. And it's really wild how good it is at those things compared to hey, ChatGPT, pretend you work for Connie Whitman, write a cold email to Eric Boggs trying to set up a meeting. It's actually pretty bad at that.
Yeah.
It's like really hokey and dorky and it doesn't work. But these transactional things where there's a lot of context and a lot of data that you can feed it
Yeah.
is crazy. It's really crazy.
I see now I'm learning something. I didn't even realize that, but how interesting is that? So literally what I just heard is the chat GPT or whatever AI is able to really, they're better at digging deeper than doing the broad stroke.
Yeah.
Not good at the broad stroke because it's
Yeah.
out of context and then they just throw crap in almost. Whereas
Yeah.
when you go really, really deep and very specific with like follow up with Connie in 2 weeks, it becomes really actionable and good because it's a specific task. So it's good when you give the depth, the deepness of whatever the context is, it actually accelerates and does a better job.
Yeah, it's precisely that. The quality of the input is what determines the output. And
Crazy.
with these transactional emails that we've started doing,
Yeah.
I mean, the context is really tight. It's really small. Like this person said, follow up in 2 weeks. The person's Connie. I see where they work. the prompt that generates that reply is really narrow and really simple, and there's a lot of context, and ChatGPT knows what respond to an email means.
Yeah.
When you give it something that is really broad, it's just going to infer and try its best, and sometimes it's just going to hallucinate.
Yes.
And that's not going to be great. And that's why we invested in sort of this transactional model, because it's a very high degree of accuracy
Yeah.
compared to open-ended broad-based queries or problems.
But you said it before too, Eric. You've reiterated, you've rinsed and repeat, you've worked on this, and you have it really dialed in. And this again, remember before I said time and money, right? Business owners, we can't afford to waste time. And with COVID, everything stopping, you had to shift, you had to pivot, you had to figure things out. You did that, you dug deep, you found a resource that's super usable beyond this broad stroke crap, right? So it's that reiteration. See, that's where the expertise comes in versus, oh yeah, I've been playing with ChatGPT. I'm an expert now. No, you're not. So taking that time and putting that effort and spending money and learning and whatever, and putting truly the time in, that you found a resource that can help your business, help other people's business. And now we have a whole new, potentially line of business that you can offer out in the marketplace. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Eric, what are some of the common mistakes that you see sellers make when they're trying to target, like you were talking about targeting the potential customer for these cold emails? How could they avoid these types of pitfalls?
Yeah. I think so. How much time you got? I can rattle off. I can rattle off a lot of mistakes that I made. And at this point, the mistakes that we make at RevBoss are very sophisticated and complicated mistakes, because we've already cycled through all the dumb mistakes.
That's right.
I think that the first thing, that's like someone that is new to email prospecting or outbound or any sort of like cold outreach, number one mistake is expecting magic. I email a person, I'm interesting, they look like a good fit, and they didn't respond. Like, what the heck? It's like anything else. To do it well, you need to invest and try to understand and be curious about your approach. And if you expect magic, you're going to be disappointed, because outbound is like just any other marketing channel. It's hard. Marketing is hard. And sometimes it is magic. When you have the best product on the planet and the brand name that everyone knows, piece of cake. Marketing at Nike and Apple, very different than marketing at RevBoss or a lot of our clients, because we don't have those things.
Right.
And
we're not a household name yet.
You got to be patient. You got to be curious, and you got to invest. So that's the number one thing that we talk about with every client. And I think that you highlighted the other one that I think is really important, that I'll try to say it in two ways. And that is like being me-centric versus you-centric, focusing on the recipient. Like your quote, like, emailing is a privilege, and I need to be personalized and resonant and friendly in my approach, not transactional. And that means taking into consideration your context and what your problems might be and how my story might align with that, versus, hey, I can save you, 20% on your car insurance. Are you interested? Book a meeting here. Like, that'll work if you scorch the earth with email, but it's not advisable.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, maybe this is a third one, or sort of, or that second one through another lens, is being really narrow with your offer. I take it that you can probably solve a lot of problems for the clients that you work with, right? I can help in this area. I can help in that area. I can help over here. A lot of our clients are the same way. Like, we might work with a marketing agency that can do digital, they can do PR, they can do brand, they're full service. They got a big team and they can do everything. I have outlawed at RevBoss this idea of emailing saying anything from digital to PR to branding to whatever, we can do it for you, because nobody has that problem. Nobody that you're going to contact says, I have every problem. I have with
That's
digital, PR, branding, and whatever, right?
right.
And so we can do anything for you, just let us know, is a terrible way to go about it. And
Yeah.
even though you can probably do lots of things, you're very talented and you've got a broad set of products and services. Instead, what you have to do is say, I do this one thing exclusively for people like you. And that's the formula. And that's what works. And our clients resist it. Heck, even our copy team sometimes, like, that kind of stuff slips in. It's like, well, we can do this or that. Like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. Like, it has got to be so tight that it is like, heck yes or no. And when you dilute the message with, anything from branding to PR to whatever, you don't get the heck yes, because it's not clear to me what you do.
Yeah. It's funny, Eric, because in sales, they say, questions, right, are really important. You use the word curious before. I love that. That's another thing with sales. I think I have to ask open-ended questions. No, 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 no. Yes, you do. But let's be curious. And the
You have to
person,
be genuine with your question. Like, you genuinely have to want to understand the answer to the
right?
question.
It's so funny. But even with the questions, they say, so what do you do for a living? Like when I teach the networking piece, right? And I say, please don't ask someone. So, oh, Eric, what do you do at RevBoss? That's such a broad stroke. Hey, Eric, you're founder, why did you start RevBoss? Now you're going to get into the psyche of what's cool about Eric, and you might connect with him on a personal level, and you might both have philanthropic, things that you both have in common. And now it's like, what do you do for a living? You're being more thoughtful in how you approach it. We deal with people. It's got to be personal. And you use the word transactional in how you're teaching your chat GBT, but everything you're saying, it's not about the transaction with the human. It's truly about building that relationship. The transactional chat GBT or whatever the AI is helps us become real authentic quicker. That's the only thing. But that you got to, what they used to say, the flesh, the hand to the hand, the flesh shaking hands. We still have to meet people where they are and be human about it versus, like you said, just throwing all this crap against the wall. I could do everything. And I just wanted one more comment really quick. When I sit in networking events, especially on Zoom, and the moderator says, okay, you have 30 seconds, let's go around the room really quick. Everybody gets a flavor of what you do. I have mine in a Word document. I don't read it anymore, but I have it up just to make sure I hit my 3 points that I want to. And I'm doing it in 25 seconds, right? I'm prepared. I'm locked and loaded. And then you get the people, and I do Alban or whatever, and I do this Mary Kay, and I'm a life coach, and I sit there thinking, no, you're not. You don't even know what you're doing. How are you going to potentially help someone? So we think we're offering. I could do all of this stuff. Clarity. Without clarity, people are not going to make a decision. No clarity, no decision. Clarity, people make decision. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to learn, and not just in the product or service that you want to offer, but to whom you want to sell it to or provide it to.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be like, oh, I do this, 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 and this, and I do it for this market segment, that market segment, and that market segment, and that one. You're halfway there if you're like, I'm a life coach, but I'm a life coach for 8 different things. You are all the way there when I'm a life coach or business coach for SaaS founders, or
That's right.
marketing agency founders, or elite sales executives. And here's the thing about prospecting, cold email, outbound. The people that you're emailing don't know you. So you can present the version of you that is best and most relevant for that person. And so it might be that you are a business coach for, 3 client buckets. That's not unreasonable. But when I email you, I don't need to say I'm a business coach for bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3. I just need to say I'm a business coach entirely focused on the bucket in which you belong.
That's exactly right.
And even that is, I know our team is very good at that, but it's a mistake I see very frequently in the marketing that I receive.
Yeah. Another big topic, the subject line. Every marketing copywriter, you have to have a really good subject line, otherwise they're not even going to make it to the email. So how can people practice or improve writing those compelling subject lines so that it does capture the person's attention? They go, oh, let me read the rest of this email. This guy sounds pretty cool. How do you do that? This is a challenge for me too, kiddo.
Yeah. So subject lines are binary. Either they're bad or they work fine. There is no, I mean, can you optimize and squeeze an extra whatever performance out of a subject line? Maybe, but in my experience, like the work that we do for our clients,
Mm.
we don't put a lot of thought into the subject line. We just know what'll
Really?
work. Yeah, the copy is what matters. The domain reputation and the inbox reputation is what matters.
Mm.
The subject line rule is basically, what would you send to your friend or your coworker? Imagine Connie and I are coworkers, and I was going to send an email to you about having a meeting or seeing a product demo or whatever. Whatever that subject line is, I would send to you. That's what you should send to everyone.
Make it
And
personal.
yeah, and it's not about like misleading. It's just making it feel not like a solicitation or sales email or awkward.
Yeah.
And our stuff is usually like um first name plus um company name, like at like my like Connie plus RevBoss question mark, or question about marketing at RevBoss, or um wondering about this dot dot dot. It's like an email I would send to a coworker. And
Really simple.
yeah, that's the rule. And if you're like trying to think of zingers or tweak marketing copy or make it feel like a PR statement, you're doing it wrong. Um,
The other thing too is you're saying that I'm thinking sometimes I get these emails and I read the subject line and I think, I don't even know what that means. Like they come up with, remember Soulpreneur when it first came out? Nobody knew what was a soulpreneur. What does that mean?
yeah,
Then it, eventually became mainstream, but you try to get cutesy and then people read it. And oftentimes I go, oh, I don't even know what that means. It does. So my thought, oh, this doesn't pertain to me. If it did, I would know what that meant. Right. So you dismiss it because it was being cutesy instead of fact of, hey, this is what this email is about.
yeah.
So I like that. Make it personal as if you're talking to a friend or a colleague. What would you say to them? And that should be compelling enough. I think we forget to make it personal because now all of a sudden it's in an email with Joe Schmo in the UK somewhere that I don't know. But do I want to know Joe Schmo in the UK? And would he be a potential, revenue generator for me or whatever the relationship might turn out to be? Fascinating. Sales and sales and sales and sales. And
Yeah.
all of these pieces
Yeah.
of the puzzle, we need it all happening. But here's what I learned today, Eric. It's got to be personal. It's
Yeah.
got to be relevant to the person you're talking to. Otherwise, we're throwing spaghetti against the wall. And hey, let's see what sticks. Right? That's so inefficient to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the, the other thing I would advise as it relates to subject lines, um copy obviously matters too,
Mm-hmm.
but what I would put as the number one thing above subject line and the actual copy is the strategic foundation underneath why you're emailing that person. Like I would invest most of my effort, and my team invests most of their effort into segmentation
Yes.
and prospecting and
Yeah.
qualification.
Yeah.
Uh, First and foremost. I mean, you're building a house, right? Like that is the foundation of the house.
Yes.
You can have like the best furnishings and the coolest floors and like the most stylish artwork on the wall, but if the foundation is poor, it's all going to fall apart. And the strategic um uh, sort of conceptualization is what makes it or breaks it.
Yeah.
Because you can write good copy, and then the great thing about copy is like, oh, this isn't working. Well, let's look at the replies and try to figure out why. That's easy. That's easy to fix over time. That's easy to iterate. And subject line is just like a tiny, tiny piece of that.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about copy and subject lines and all that, I wouldn't actually. I would instead spend my time thinking about what's the segmentation of the audience, what's the reason that this segment buys, or what is appealing for this segment versus that segment, and spend your time there so that you're not just emailing the same thing to everybody.
Yeah. That's it. Because now I understand inevitably who the person is, and I could be so much more direct with how I hit them, that they read and think, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about this. Or, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I was looking into this. This is so weird that the email came through, right? So, but it's just being at the right place at the right time. But you have to do that research. I think we try to move too fast, but it's patience. Business is patience. Business is putting the time in. Business is building. I like how you said the house too. It's not about the furnishing, right? It's building that foundation. Because, I've been around 23 years, almost 24 years now. That doesn't happen by accident, right? It's because I deliver. I have a good reputation, all of those things, but it takes time and we have to be patient to get the results we want. Work hard. I'm not saying be a slacker, but yeah, have to put the time in to figure out, to get those direct hits that you just spoke about. So we're out of time, Eric. This is brilliant. So here's the deal, everyone. Eric likes me, so I've got him in my corner, but teasing. Here's the deal. I really do think if you're struggling and you're not getting the response, an email is one of the big components of you generating those new lead gens coming in, please email him. His email is eric@revboss, revboss.com, website revboss.com. And you do have a free gift. I'll put it in the show notes, guys. It's revboss.com/secret-menu. Don't worry about the hyphens and all that. I'll put it in the show notes. But what do they get with that secret menu, Eric, so everybody could click it?
Yeah, so we're launching a new product that when we are recording this is not real yet, but by the time you publish this, Connie, it will be real. Our primary service today is a full service email prospecting program, generally $4,000 a month, give or take. We're building a SaaS version of this that is starting at $1,000 a month. So a much lower price point, meant for solo practitioners, small business services providers, so small marketing agency, PR firm, consulting firm,
cool,
one-woman show type of things. We onboard these. We're onboarding these customers like they're full service customers, teaching them the tools, setting up the product, and they're set up for success. And it's a new thing. We're really excited about it. And this is the first time I've said this landing page out loud.
I'm so excited. Now it's got to be real, dude. Got to do it.
I know. To anyone outside
we're
of
going
RevBoss
live, right? 2 weeks, it's live.
Yeah. So we're bringing it along slowly. Like it's going to be a little while before we get it on our homepage and get it on our pricing page. Hence, secret menu, because it's something that we're not ready for to kind of scale out to the world yet. Just because we want to kind of make sure we get it right.
Sure.
But a lot of the AI transactional email stuff I talked about is part of that product. And yeah, we're really pumped up about it, and we think it's going to help a lot of people. And I appreciate you having me on to talk about all this stuff and share it with your listeners.
Yeah, this is great. So guys, hot off the press, the main voyage of the new product happens on my show. I love it. I love when that happens. Eric, you're a delight. Thank you so much. And everything you said philosophically, resonates with me on the sales side. So the lead gen, we have to have the lead gens coming in, right? And then I come into the play where it's about the sales skill itself and the communication. But this lead gen piece, that's where I see a lot of my personal clients as well as my corporate clients. That's where they're missing the boat. It's on that lead gen piece because you hear so many different philosophies. And I think we have to figure out what is the philosophy that works for me, and you customize that for people, which at the end of the day, again, I think it has to be that personalization. Otherwise, we're just throwing spaghetti against the wall. So thank you so much. Anybody that's interested, guys, again, I'll put Eric's email, the new product, the secret menu, and also the website so you could check it out. If you're struggling in any way, I do think it's worth having a conversation with Eric. He's the real deal. This isn't his first rodeo. He's been doing this for 20 years. But he's locked and loaded. He's done a lot of the legwork that, frankly, I don't want anything to do with learning the technology like you were describing the SaaS and this. I'm like, yeah, like pins in my eyes. Thank you very much. I'll hire someone because that's not my zone of genius. I don't want to spend time in that. So if anybody listening, even my corporate clients, if you feel the lead gen isn't coming in, please reach out to Eric. He's truly a delight. Otherwise, I wouldn't have him on my show. So Eric, thank you for sharing your zone of genius with my peeps. I so appreciate it.
My pleasure, Connie. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hanging out. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are on changing your sales game or your career or whatever's going on. I truly hope my guests and I provide some ideas, tips, strategies, something that you could Pause today, listen to the show and pause. What can you take? Information's a beautiful thing, but if you do nothing with it, it's information. What can you do based on my conversation with Eric today? Put it into action, man, and I promise you'll get magic on the back end. Try it; it works. Trust me. Right where where we find discomfort or we're uncomfortable, that's where the growth happens. So again, I hope Eric shines some light on some of your blind spots to help you grow your business. I love you all. Thank you for tuning into Changing the Sales Game with me, your host Connie Whitman on webtalkradio.com. I will see you all next week. Have an awesome week. Again, take the information, put it into action, and I promise you magic happens. I love you. I'll see you next week. Have a great one.